So, let's talk about Iran. For decades, it's been a country defined by turmoil, protest, and a deep, deep struggle over its own identity. It's a nation really caught in this tug-of-war between a surprisingly modern past and a very strict, theocratic present. And right now, it is standing at an incredibly volatile crossroads.
Just look at this. It really tells you everything, doesn't it? On one side, you have Iran before 1979. It was cosmopolitan, secular, and a close ally of the West. And on the other side, the Islamic Republic we know today, with all of its strict social rules. So how on earth does a country go through such a radical 180-degree transformation in just a few decades? That's really the core question we're going to dig into.
And here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at that pre-revolutionary era, and then the absolute turning point, 1979. We'll explore what life is actually like under the current regime, the protests that have shaken it to its core, why it's still standing, and then the big one, what could possibly happen next.
All right, so let's dive in. Our story really begins back in the era of Iran's last Shah. On the surface, it was a time of super-fast Western-style modernization. But just beneath all that, tensions were building up to an absolute breaking point. And wow, look at how quickly everything just flipped. In the 60s and 70s, the Shah is pushing his white revolution, Iran becomes the biggest buyer of American weapons, a key U.S. ally, and then bam, 1979 hits and it's a complete reversal. The Islamic Revolution topples the whole monarchy, and just months later, the U.S. embassy hostage crisis kicks off, poisoning relations with the West for generations to come.
And this right here, this was the narrative that just caught fire. Ayatollah Khamenei was brilliant at this. He successfully painted the Shah not as some modernizer, but as a puppet of the West, who was trying to erase Iran's religious and cultural identity. That message, it resonated so deeply with so many people, tapping into religious feeling and mobilizing millions against the monarchy.
So, the Shah is out, Khomeini is in. But this revolution wasn't just political. Oh no, it reached into every single part of daily life. That society we saw in that first picture was about to be completely, and I mean completely, re-engineered. All of a sudden, a very strict interpretation of Sharia law was the rule of the land. I mean, look at this list. The hijab became mandatory for all women. Public spaces, even buses, were segregated by gender. You couldn't even hold hands in public if you weren't married. Social media? Banned. And what really added to the anger was the incredible hypocrisy. You had reports coming out that the kids of the ruling elite were off enjoying Western freedoms abroad while enforcing these rules back home. And to make sure everyone followed these new rules, well, that's where the morality police come in. This unit became this powerful and feared symbol of state control. Their job was to patrol the streets, making sure people complied with dress codes and social rules, often through intimidation, harassment, and arrests. Okay, so on top of all the social control, the economy just completely cratered. Decades of international sanctions and serious mismanagement led to total devastation. And this number, wow, it just says it all. At one point, you needed almost 1.4 million Iranian rials to equal a single US dollar. That isn't just a statistic. For millions of people, that's the crushing reality of economic collapse. So you've got this toxic mix, right? Social repression, extreme economic hardship. It was a powder keg just waiting for a spark. It was only a matter of time before the whole thing exploded. And that spark, it came in 2022. The death of a 22-year-old woman, Mahsa Amini, while she was in the custody of the morality police, allegedly for wearing her hijab improperly, well, it ignited an absolute firestorm of outrage that just swept across the entire nation. But what's so incredible is who is out there protesting. Just look at this. Of course, women are on the front lines, defiantly cutting their hair and burning headscarves. But they're not alone. They're joined by the Bazaris, the powerful merchant class that actually funded the 1979 revolution. Now they're protesting its economic failure. You've got students demanding academic freedom, and young people engaging in all kinds of civil disobedience, even knocking the turbans right off clerics in the street. This is a seriously broad movement.
But despite all of this, despite the scale of these protests, the regime has managed to hold on. It has proven to be incredibly resilient. So you've got to ask, why? How does it survive all this pressure?
Well, the answer really comes down to this: a massive, loyal, and incredibly powerful security machine. As you can see, it's not just one group. You have the powerful IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, whose whole job is to defend the revolution itself. Then there's the Basij militia, a paramilitary force they use to crush protests at the street level. And then you have layers and layers of intelligence units. This entire structure is designed for one primary purpose: to crush internal dissent. But even though that security apparatus is strong, just look at the grievances fueling these protests. They are overwhelming. People aren't just angry about one thing. They're protesting devastating economic hardship, suffocating social rules, and rampant political corruption. I mean, it's a full-blown crisis on all fronts. Okay, so that brings us to the final, critical question. Where does Iran possibly go from here? The country is balanced on an absolute knife's edge. You know, the future is anything but certain. Will the regime just double down with an even more violent crackdown? Is it possible the government could actually collapse? Could we see a civil war? Or might foreign powers get involved? All of these are real and, frankly, deeply unsettling possibilities.
And this is a really, really important point to understand. The people on the streets, they're not trying to turn back the clock. This isn't about swapping out the current theocracy for the old monarchy. Many of them are rejecting both of those pasts. They're fighting for something entirely new, a future that they get to build themselves.
Which brings us to this final question. The Islamic Republic itself was born from a popular revolution 45 years ago. Today, it's facing another one. So, is Iran's revolutionary cycle about to begin all over again? The answer? Well, it won't just determine the fate of 88 million people. It could literally reshape the entire Middle East.